So, today I'm going to talk about loneliness. Yesterday I did mention it, so might as well continue from there. You guys must know about the Korean statistic wherein the birth rate in South Korea is going down. It's at 0.084 or 0.74 something per female in the country. I don't know whether that is of a female of a particular age or whatever, but in general it's very low. It's depressingly low. The irony about all this is that everyone looks up to South Korea in some ways or the other. Other countries, like in my country, in our country, in India, people look at South Koreans as really beautiful and looking very nice, and then when you want to do your skincare, they'll be like, oh my god, I want that South Korean glass skin and stuff. And they have a lot of going for them. This car is from Korea, by the way, and their technology, Samsung, Kia, Hyundai, so many companies, I can't name more off the top of my head, but they are front runners in a lot of things. They have a very good economy. It's a very safe country. K-drama and K-pop is popping off right now, as you all know. But then, are they really indicators of the success of a country if people are so lonely and the birth rate is going so down? And sure, I'm not saying that loneliness is the only reason why the birth rate is going. I'm sure there are way more reasons. Probably the economy too, because I heard that in South Korea they expect the guy to own a house and stuff like that, but then the prices of houses in cities like Seoul is extremely expensive, where it becomes unrealistic to expect someone to be able to own that before marriage or whatever. But even though that's the case, I think that I personally, in my own opinion, I think loneliness has a part to it. And even in Japan, I think loneliness is a very big problem in Japan. And you see, the issue with loneliness is that when there is loneliness, women get treated in a very objectified way, not in the general objectified way, but things like prostitution and all of anything related to sex work is obviously going to go higher the more lonelier the country is. And statistically, I think you all will agree too, where saying that anywhere where there is more of prostitution, it is in a way objectifying the female gender, which also again creates a huge problem. And talking about loneliness otherwise, I think loneliness is also caused by individuals ourselves. I think when we say that, okay, India is a very lonely country and stuff, when we say that India is a very lonely country, etc., I think there is plenty of opportunity to not be lonely. I think if you choose not to be lonely, you can. There's always a way out. There is Discord. I wouldn't consider social media as a cure to loneliness. Obviously, it's one of the reasons loneliness is there. It in a way causes loneliness. But I still think that if you make friends on apps like these, you can still meet them in real life, make them friends, whatever. I've had that experience where I've met people who I've met on Discord in real life and then made friends with them. Half of my friendships are right now like that, where I met them online. It's a very cool thing. I just happen to have used it properly. Obviously, even if I didn't use it properly, I wouldn't call myself lonely either. But I think that when people say that, oh my god, I'm lonely, I don't have time to do things and stuff, I think that there is always a way out. You can always do something about it. And sure, not everyone can do something about it, but I think the bar is very low, where even if you have this much of a problem, people will be like, oh my god, this is a problem, I can't do anything about it. I'll complain that, oh my god, I'm lonely, and it'll become a thing where I'm using it as an excuse. But if the bar was higher, if the bar was here and I was feeling this much lonely, not this much, but this much, then I can be like, okay, let's figure out how not to be lonely. Let's figure out where to meet people. Let's not complain about it. But for most people, the bar is this low. So anything loneliness above this line becomes a problem and they complain about it. If you really tried not to be lonely, I think that would have worked out. I'm not saying that it goes for everyone. A lot of people, it's a big issue. I think the UN or WHO, someone declared it as a pandemic in a way, or an epidemic. I don't really remember, don't quote me on this, but obviously it became a problem. And I was thinking, what could be the cure to loneliness? I think though, I think the major cause of loneliness was obviously social media, where it was so easy. I think the increase in choice, where because you're simultaneously connected to a million people on Instagram or whatever, you have so much choice that if you meet someone or if you start talking to someone on social media, on Insta or whatever, and if they don't really behave the way you want them to behave, you'll be like, "Arey bro, what is this? I don't. Why is this person behaving like this? I'll move on to the next guy." But then eventually your level of tolerances becomes so low because you have so many options that eventually everyone is like above the level of tolerance, and you can't in a way tolerate anyone. So then eventually you start withdrawing, and then eventually that creates loneliness. And that's a big problem, because I think this is what happens on dating websites also, like dating apps, where people, they girls have so many choices. It's like you will be talking to a girl, say if I'm a guy on a dating app, I'll be talking to a girl for 2 weeks or whatever, and I one wrong move, one wrong word, one wrong mistake, she's gonna be like, bruh, this guy said this, I can't really be with him, I have 1,000 other choices, why don't I just go to them? So then this guy is lost, and then there's 1,000 other guys. The thing is, that's eventually going to happen with everyone. Someone or the other is always going to make that mistake at some point in time, whenever. So just the illusion of choice, I mean, it's not even an illusion of choice, but so as I was saying, I think it's a sort of an illusion of a choice, because you have so many choices, your tolerance for each becomes just so low that you end up not focusing your attention on one. I think, at least when it comes to dating, if you do pick one person and stick with them in a way, obviously it doesn't work for everyone, but just increasing your tolerance will result in way more happier relationships, not divorces, less divorces, just in general a better thing. Because I think in these days, just the amount of choice you have, counterintuitively, it doesn't really help out. I think if people had less of a choice, sure, it sounds like, in a way, it does sound like you're settling for someone, but I don't think that's the case. I think, in a way, if you had less choice, bro, I think I'm gonna say that for myself. If I had less choice, I think I would have made my relationships work better. So it's just anecdotally I'm saying that, even if I had that, but I don't know, man. I think that's definitely the case, and that would also solve loneliness in a way, because I feel like, I mean, it's not what I feel like, this is actually happening, that when the population increases like it did for our generation and Gen Z and the one before that, it's just that there are so many people, you have so many choices. Obviously, the people at the top will always get way more attention from way more people. That is always going to have a negative impact. When people used to live in caves and stuff, they didn't really have too much of a choice. It's like, okay, there are these 5 girls, pick one. They picked one and then they lived happy. Obviously, we don't know whether they lived happy or not, but case in point. Anyway, so yeah, I think the more the Western world or the world goes towards individuality or individualism, where people are like, okay, I'm enough for myself and this and that, when you stop relying on your partner, when you stop relying on other people, I don't mean to say you have to be dependent on them, but for certain things, I think being dependent in a way to at least compensate, or be like, okay, you as my partner are better at this, so I will definitely rely on you for this and learn from them, rather than be ashamed of the fact that you have to be reliant on them and be like, okay, no, I'm going to learn for myself and I'm going to be independent and stuff. That is not very healthy, and being okay to rely on someone for something is actually a good thing, in my opinion. I think that makes relationships way more beautiful. Individuals grow that way, people grow that way, by compensating for each other. I think relationships are very symbiotic. It's in a way, it is give and take. Love is also give and take, in my opinion. So yeah, I think people need to be a little less individualistic, rely on other people. I mean, human beings are social creatures, it's very well known, and loneliness It's a horrible thing. I really hope that the world claws back from it. I hope loneliness decreases over a period of time or in the near future, because that's going to be very nice. And I really hope that not a lot of people have to go through being lonely. It's not a very good feeling. Anyway, bye bye.